We are here to hear two amazing scripts and to hear the feedback from our industry insider, the lovely Holly, who is sitting down the front. Welcome, Holly. We also have the two writers. One, we have Kevin, who's in the room. Kevin. We have another gentleman named Lou, who Jake is going to tell me is watching.
We have the viewer.
Thumbs up.
So
Yeah, we have
multiple viewers. We have 3 viewers.
We live stream, so that means Lou is in New York, so he's going to watch online, and then we're going to use the trickery of modern technology to be able to hear him so that he can hear Holly's notes and interact / cry. So we're going to do Lou's script first. Lou, if you can hear us, we're going to do you first. His script is a screenplay. No, is it a screenplay? Yes. I forgot. I think Lou will tell us while I'm talking and tap dancing. And it's a comedy, and let's just do it.
Floating by the Wollin. Interior pizza place, day. A waiter plays the violin passionately. David Rubin, 10, adorably odd, with shaggy hair and wearing a tomato sauce stained t-shirt. And Helen Stone, 26, with a radiant smile, eat pizza. David looks way beyond enthralled. David's POV. Helen, bathed in a brilliant white light, glows. David tries to bite the pizza, but the cheese won't break. Instead, he gobbles up more and more cheese.
David, did you hear me?
David spits a ball of cheese into a paper napkin.
Yes, Miss Stone.
So what are you waiting for?
Waiting for...
David, I'm waiting.
Tomato sauce runs down David's chin. Helen points to the sauce. David swipes at it with his palm.
Don't make me ask you again.
I wish you would. I could listen to you talk for hours.
Cut 2. Interior 4th grade classroom, day. The date, May 10, 1985, is written on the blackboard. Photos of presidents from Washington through Reagan are pasted around the room. David, eyes closed and slouching in his chair, daydreams. Helen steps closer. The rest of the class, divided in half, many suppressing their urge to laugh, stand opposite sides of the room.
David.
Miss Stone.
David.
Miss Stone.
David!
David, startled, wakes from his daydream. Students laugh. David hides his beet red face. Interior 4th grade classroom later. The last of the students file out. Helen gathers her paperwork and slips it into a briefcase. David, backpack slung over his shoulder, shuffles up to the desk. Helen, finally sensing David's presence, focuses on him.
Hi.
What's going on?
What are your hobbies? What music do you like? Who are your favorite authors?
David, you have to stop this.
Say David again.
Helen shakes her head and exits. Exterior school day. Helen breezes toward the parking lot. David practically jogs to keep up with her.
I know this isn't love the way you imagined. You thought I'd be taller, drive a car, carry a wallet.
You're 10. I'm 26.
And when I'm 30, you'll be 45.
How much is 30 plus 16?
He calculates.
46. And I won't hold it against you.
David removes a crumpled page from his pocket and offers it to Helen.
Read this.
She reluctantly takes the page and reads.
You're become my morning sun, spreading light where there was none. Because of you, I do my homework. Because of you, I feel so... What rhymes with homework?
Helen stuffs the page in her briefcase.
These feelings are inappropriate. Can you understand that?
Helen runs her fingers through her hair. David, captivated, sighs. The school bus pulls up to the curb.
Go.
David points to the bus.
Need a lift?
No. My boyfriend's picking me up any minute.
David, gravely wounded, clutches his heart. Helen fights a smile as she kneels beside him.
You're a wonderful boy, but I'm your teacher, and that's all I can ever be.
When you kneel beside me, we look so good together.
Exasperated, Helen stands.
Goodbye, David.
The bus driver blows the horn. David races toward the bus. Inside the bus, David waves to Helen as he drifts toward the back and then settles into a seat and stares out the window. David's POV. Paul Jordan, 26. The asshole boyfriend Helen has yet to cut loose, pulls up in his sports car. Helen slides in and leans toward Paul. Paul gives her a perfunctory kiss on the cheek. David uses his hand to block out Paul, so he sees only Helen, alone in the passenger seat as the car pulls away. Interior Rubin dining room, night. Amateur paintings, including one depicting nude lovers, decorate the walls. It's a family dinner. Lisa, with wild flowing hair and a paint-filled smock, and Larry, wearing tie and suspenders, focus on David. Larry appears concerned. Lisa enjoys the moment.
And if you saw my love, you'd love her too. I love her. She gives me everything, and tenderly the kiss my lover brings, she brings to me. And I love her. A love like ours could never die, as long as I have you near me. And bright are the stars that shine.
Hey! Will you please stop encouraging him? Dreamy romantic is no way to raise a 10-year-old boy.
Why can't he feel whatever he wants? He's not hurting anyone.
I love Miss Stone, and I want the world to know it.
No more love songs. Swear it.
David races to the window, forces it open, and sticks his head out.
I love Miss Stone! I love her! I love her!
Window
I love...
collapses on David's neck. Lisa gasps. Larry darts over and opens the window. David steps away and rubs his neck.
Why does love have to be so painful?
Enough! Sit down and eat.
David returns to his chair. Larry sits, gulps his drink, glares at the painting of nude lovers, then turns to Lisa.
This is your fault. Love, love, love. Yeah, look what you've done to him.
I'm proud of him.
Yeah, I'll bet he's the only kid who turns in his homework with a red rose. But emotions, you know, they have their place.
I thought it's good to feel.
Larry flashes an annoyed look at Lisa.
You know what they call a person who becomes obsessed with someone else?
A romantic.
A psycho.
David turns to Lisa for confirmation. She discreetly shakes her head. Larry stuffs his face. David pushes the food around his plate as if the fork and food are a hockey stick and puck.
There'll be time for all this love stuff, but later, and it will be with someone your own age.
I wanted to be with Miss Stone.
Well, why don't you ask the cloner? That way, when you're older, her clone will be the right age for you.
What?
It's a joke. Eat.
Ma, what is it?
Larry shakes his head. Lisa rejects the signal.
They take genetic material cells were made of and use it to create a twin. But Daddy's joking. Cloning is a fantasy.
David drops his fork and bolts from the room. We hear David race up the stairs.
But where's he going?
Lisa shrugs, then rests her hand on top of Larry's hand, preventing him from lifting his fork. She smiles warmly.
He's so sweet.
Larry forces a smile, grabs the fork with his free hand, and digs in. Interior David's bedroom. A typical boy's room, apart from shelves and shelves of books and posters of works by Vincent van Gogh, the Beatles, and Sting's The Dream of the Blue Turtles posters. David rifles through a worn, highlighted dictionary, locates cloning, and soaks up the definition. Interior master bedroom. Larry, browsing through Fortune magazine, and Lisa, reading a Van Gogh biography, lie in bed. David, in PJs, enters and rubs his eyes.
Good night.
Lisa opens her arms. David rushes over and kisses her. He relishes Lisa's embrace.
Good night, honey.
Larry raises his hand. David reluctantly raises his hand and Larry high-fives him.
Have you thought about what I said?
You're right, Dad. Love is for grown-ups.
David exits, leaving a pleased Larry and skeptical Lisa.
Sometimes you just got to lay down the law.
Interior, David's bedroom. David strips off his PJs, revealing the jeans and t-shirt still underneath. Exterior, Reuben house, night. David, a boy with a mission, slides down the trellis and locates his bike on the side of the house. He straps on his helmet, mounts the bike, and pedals into the night. Exterior street, night. A biker dude and his girlfriend sit on a motorcycle stopped at a red light. David, riding on the sidewalk, pulls even with the couple. David and the biker dude check each other out. The biker dude revs his engine. David kicks his pedals backwards. The girlfriend, watching David, smiles sweetly. David smiles shyly, then looks at the back of his own seat. No girlfriend there. Smile gone, he checks traffic and pedals onward. Interior, Helen Stone's bedroom, night. A warm country feel. Posters of works by Van Gogh and a Sting poster decorate this room too. Paul makes love mechanically. Helen, bored, tries to read an open book of poetry set on the bed. Paul emits a grunt with his orgasm, then rolls away from Helen and onto his side. He snores in no time. Helen simmers, then boils.
Paul? Paul!
She shoveling.
Paul!
Oh, yeah.
Why do you love me?
Huh?
Why do you love me?
Because you're terrific?
Paul kisses Helen's cheek and rolls over. Helen, distraught, grabs the book of poetry and reads. Exterior, Helen's apartment building, night. David, wearing his helmet, sets his bike beside the building and climbs the fire escape. Interior, Helen's bedroom, night. Paul sleeps. Helen drifts off. Exterior bedroom window, night. David peers through the window. David's POV. Helen sleeps. David, mouth wide open, watches Helen, then leans closer, accidentally smashing his helmet against the window. Interior bedroom, night. Helen wakes up, spots David, and springs up. David ducks, but his helmet remains visible. Paul, stunned, sits up.
Okay, you're really, really terrific.
Helen rushes to the window and pulls down the blinds.
Thanks. Go back to sleep.
Helen grabs a robe.
Where are you going?
Nowhere.
Exterior apartment building, night. David races down the fire escape.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh
David
God.
reaches the street. Helen, striking a hands-on-hips pose, stands beside David's bike.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Watching you sleep. I give you a beautiful plus.
Okay, if you keep this up, we'll need professional help.
We don't need a professional. Let's just learn as we go.
Exterior, Helen's car, moving. The car cruises down a residential block. Inside the car, David, so in love, gazes at Helen.
You can never do this again. Do you understand me?
Are you marrying that guy?
That isn't your business. I don't know. We've been together since college. The plan was to teach in the same school, and then all his friends got MBAs, so he did too. I blame Ronald Reagan.
Helen glances at David, transfixed.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No, but I could listen to you forever.
Helen fights a smile, which bursts out anyway. Exterior, David's house, night. Helen parks alongside the curb. She and David exit. Helen hauls David's bike from the trunk and sets it on the grass.
I love you, Miss Stone.
And why do you love me?
I love the way you push your hair back after it falls in front of your face, and the way you pay attention to the kids in class as if there's no place you'd rather be. I love the way your eyes kind of crunch up when you smile.
She smiles. Her eyes do crunch up.
I love the way you laugh. Are you okay?
Helen, eyes downcast, discreetly wipes a tear from her cheek. David offers his sleeve. Helen shakes it off.
There's more.
Helen snaps out of it.
No, there isn't. Next time, I'm calling your parents.
Helen points to the bike. David retrieves it.
Clone for me.
What?
They say they can make a baby who's exactly like you. Then, when she gets to be your age, I'll be older than you, and we could...
Stop. No more talking. Cloning creates a look-alike, not that same person. Besides, they can't do that. It's only in science fiction and some old Woody Allen movie.
Who?
Never mind. But clone for me may be the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me.
David beams. Helen smiles. David wobbles, then faints. Helen kneels beside him.
David?
He slowly opens his eyes, then taps his helmet.
Good thing I wore this.
Helen helps him back to his feet.
I'll see you tomorrow.
It's a date!
David hops on his bike and pedals towards his house. A full moon looms in the distance. David, seizing the romantic moment, waves to Helen. Interior classroom, day. No students. Helen shoves a folder into her briefcase. She strolls toward the closet, opens the door, then gasps. David smiles.
Hi!
Out.
He emerges triumphantly.
Are you ready?
For what?
Our date.
We don't have a date.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Stop it.
You know you want to. I made you cry.
That does it. I'm calling your parents.
She storms back to her desk.
You're angry.
Yes, I'm angry.
I make you feel things. Isn't that what love's about?
Exterior school, day. Helen leads David, wearing a super stuffed backpack, toward the school bus.
We're through having these conversations. I'll see you in class tomorrow, just like the rest of my students.
I'm different than your other students.
Goodbye, David.
David disappears behind the bus. Helen, relieved, walks toward the street. The bus pulls away, revealing David still at the bus stop. Helen crosses the street and enters a park. David discreetly follows her. Exterior park, day. Helen, resting against a tree, reviews papers.
I brought drinks.
Helen turns. David steps out from behind the tree.
I don't believe this.
Does it mean you want one?
David unwraps a straw, slides it into a small juice carton, and offers it to Helen.
I'm calling your mother.
Can I have 10 minutes? Even a condemned man gets a last meal.
Helen stifles a smile.
5.
She takes the juice box. David slips a straw into a second carton, then raises his carton in toast.
To love,
She glares.
in general.
David and Helen touch cartons. Helen sips. David drains his drink, then sucks until the carton collapses and slightly longer. He removes a small beach bucket from his backpack. Water spills from the bucket as David sets it on the grass. He takes Helen's carton and deposits it in the bucket. Helen, charmed, smiles.
How old are you again?
10.
David digs into his backpack, removes a book of poetry entitled Loving, and hands it to Helen. Immediately enthralled, she thumbs through the pages.
Where'd you get this?
I bought it with 89 quarters. Look at page 33. It's called Choice.
Helen flips to the page.
Why this one?
You'll see.
I'd rather have the thought of you to hold against my heart, my spirit to be taught of you with west wind blowing, than all the warm...
Helen quite quickly shuts the book and stands.
We're out of here. I have no intention of doing jail time.
Why would you do downtime?
Come on.
Helen storms across the lawn, mowing down blades of grass, while a scrambling David scoops up his backpack and bucket, then chases after her. Exterior school day. David sits in the passenger seat of Lisa's car. Helen and Lisa confer nearby. David sticks his head out of the window.
The poem's about a love that lasts a lifetime.
Lisa looks embarrassed.
I'm so sorry.
He's a great kid. Bright, inquisitive, sensitive, but this is way out of hand.
I play a lot of early Beatles.
I could transfer him, but there's only 1 month left.
Give me a chance. I'll straighten him out.
Inside Lisa's car, moving. Lisa drives. David in the back seat absorbs a tirade.
David, I'm serious. This has to stop.
But love is such a powerful emotion.
For adults. You haven't even reached puberty yet.
Lisa instantly regrets letting that cat out of the bag.
What's that?
Lisa accelerates. Interior den, night. David, surrounded by Woody Allen movies on VHS, sits on the floor. He shoves a tape into the VCR and presses play. Lisa enters.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Lisa surveys the titles, then stops the tape.
Time for bed. You need to slow down. Life may be short, but it's not this short.
Interior, Helen's bedroom, night. Paul sleeps and snores. Helen sits on a rocking chair beside the window and devours David's book of poetry. The chair creaks. Interior classroom, day. A screech sounds as a student scrapes chalk against the blackboard. Other students wrestle and throw whatever they can find. Amidst the chaos, there's one note of calm. David reads a book. A substitute, shaken, enters. Students scramble for their seats.
Miss Stone won't be in today. I'm the substitute.
Chaos resumes. David looks agitated.
I have all your parents' phone numbers!
With that threat, the order is restored. David raises his hand.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Interior school hallway. David prowls the hallway, turns the corner, then eavesdrops on a conversation between two teachers. They notice David and he darts off. Interior school cafeteria. David slips into the cafeteria. Two custodians, both upset, huddle. David approaches.
Have you heard about Miss Stone?
She was crossing the street. There was an accident.
Where is she?
Mount Sinai.
Is that a hospital?
Exterior Mount Sinai Hospital, day. A cab pulls up outside the hospital. Inside the cab, the driver watches impatiently as David deposits a stream of quarters into his hand. Interior hospital reception area, day. A receptionist types behind a high counter, off screen.
What room is Helen Stone in?
The receptionist looks up, but no one's there. David jumps so his head is momentarily visible.
Helen Stone. What room?
Who are you?
Her husband. I married young.
The receptionist looks playfully skeptical. David jumps again.
Okay, her cousin.
You're too young to go up.
He jumps again.
Can I wait here?
Suit yourself.
David joins several adults in the waiting room, sits, stares at them, then grabs a magazine and crosses his leg in imitation. Paul dashes in and approaches the receptionist. David watches.
I'm here to see Helen Stone.
The receptionist types, then reads from the screen.
She's in OR. You can go to the third floor waiting room or wait here with her
husband and cousin.
David looks over. Paul glances at David, appears confused, then darts into the elevator. David stares at the receptionist. Wait until she buries her head in paperwork, then dives onto the floor and crawls to the elevator. He eyes the button, far out of reach, then leaps up, presses the button, and hits the floor again. The receptionist scans, no sign of life. She returns to her paperwork as the elevator opens and David crawls inside. Interior hallway. David strolls down the hallway as if he belongs. He spots Paul and Mildred Stone, 55, teary-eyed, seated on a couch. David sits at the end. Mildred glances at David. Dr. Saul Kaplan, 34, somberly approaches Mildred and Paul. They both spring up.
How is she?
There were extensive injuries, including head trauma. She hasn't regained consciousness. I'm not sure that she will, and I'm sorry for bringing her down now.
Saul pats Mildred's back. David whimpers as he wipes away a tear. Mildred and Paul glance at him. Several hospital personnel push assorted medical equipment and a gurney with Helen, eyes closed, aboard. David and Mildred rush over. Paul follows. David grabs Helen's hand and squeezes tight.
I love you, Miss Stone.
Who are you?
David.
Mildred and Paul look confused. A nurse grabs David.
Okay, mister, you belong downstairs.
David tries to fight it, but she's got it.
But she's my teacher.
You still belong downstairs.
The hospital personnel push the gurney. The nurse escorts David away.
Miss Stone!
Mildred turns back to David and gazes warmly through her tears. Interior reception area. The nurse leads David off the elevator. Lisa races into the hospital. David rushes into Lisa's arms and sobs. Lisa cries too. Interior David's bedroom, night. Tears stream down David's cheeks. He gazes at a star-filled sky. Lisa holds him. Larry sadly watches from the doorway. Exterior hospital, night. We see the same star-filled sky. Interior Helen's hospital room, night. Helen, in a coma, lies in bed. Interior Saul's office, night. Saul, engrossed, reviews a lab report, then excitedly grabs his phone and dials. Exterior medical lab, night. All of the offices are dark, with one exception. Interior lab, night. Annie McCone, 26, in a lab coat, is on the phone.
Slow down, I can barely understand you, okay? Okay, I'll put George on. It's Saul.
George Newman, 28, wearing a lab coat and in dire need of a haircut, peers through a microscope. Annie smiles lovingly as she eases over to George and pats him on the back.
George, Saul is on the phone.
George, practically in a trance, looks up.
Artificial insemination is only the beginning. Before long, we'll be able to create life in ways the man upstairs never dreamed of.
Unless the man upstairs cloned Adam to make Eve, in which case it all started with him.
Good point.
George notices the phone in Annie's hand and looks confused.
What are you doing with that?
It's Saul. Either he's found the rare mutation he says you're looking for, or he's stolen it out of his gourd.
George quickly retrieves the phone.
Do you have the blood test in front of you? Read it to me. Go on. Go on. I'll meet you at the hospital.
Interior Saul's office. Saul stands and peers out his window.
I'm stealing a vial of blood for you. This is more than a favor.
Interior lab. George excitedly removes his lab coat and slips into the ugliest plaid sport jacket ever designed. Annie looks concerned.
What's going on?
George grabs Annie, dips her, and kisses her passionately. Finally, they part, both equally shocked.
Wow. What is it?
Oh, nothing.
George?
I've been experimenting with cloning.
Annie looks surprised.
I haven't been able to find anyone with the right genetic makeup, but that may be about to change.
Where are you going?
To pick up the blood.
She looks repulsed.
You can't do this. It isn't right.
Of course it's right. That's why we do this. To reach new frontiers. No one can stop science's relentless march forward, and it's foolhardy to try.
Annie appears impressed by George's commitment. George exits with a flourish. Interior hallway. George marches down the hallway, then, looking confused, suddenly stops and pats his pockets. Interior lab room. George sheepishly returns. Annie hands him his wallet and car keys. Exterior parking lot, night. Only a few cars remain. George scans the cars. He spots a car with an ND license plate and rushes over. Saul rolls down the window.
Well?
You first.
George hands an envelope to Saul. Saul peers inside and thumbs through a stack of bills. He hands an envelope to George and pulls away. George looks inside the envelope and examines the vial of blood.
Thanks.
Interior medical lab day. An egg in a petri dish responds to a jolt of electricity. Exterior cemetery day. A headstone reads, Helen Stone, 1959 to 1985, loving daughter and dedicated teacher. David, in a suit, solemnly places flowers on Helen's grave, then steps back. Lisa drapes her arm around him. Interior classroom, 23 years later. David, 33, a nice-looking, head-in-the-clouds kind of guy, stands at the front of the room. The photos of presidents now include 2 Bushes and a Clinton. The students are not visible yet.
O lover, O my lover, that this should come to me. I'd rather have the hope of you. Ah, love, I'd rather grope for you within the great abyss and claim another's kiss. Alone I'd rather go my way throughout eternity. So what do you think it means? Anyone?
Now we see the students, a bunch of confused, bored third graders.
Okay, my bad. Let's all take out the final Harry Potter instead.
The students reach under their seats, struggle to lift the weighty tomes, and set them on their desks. Several desks instantly topple. The books land with a thud. Exterior school field day. Children play. David jogs alongside Sean, well-built, 30, with a shaved head and way too tight workout gear.
You gotta let this dead woman go.
It's been 23 years. I know she's gone.
Sean looks skeptical.
I do, but every day, so often, she slips in here. This weird, melancholic longing overwhelms me, you know?
You also gotta stop talking like that. It's whacked.
Lynn and Sherry, 2 hot teachers, jog past. Sean checks them out.
You know, some days, when a hot teacher or mom walks into the gym, I wish the kids would play by themselves while I do her in the locker room, but I stop myself.
Now it's David's turn to look skeptical.
Well, I try. Anyways, that's my challenge. Yours is to stop comparing every woman you meet to your dead teacher.
David grimaces. Sean ogles Lynn and Sherry again, grabs David and redirects him.
Look at the pair of high beams on those 2. For those who are counting, that's a total of 4.
You should teach math.
Sean streaks across the field and stops in front of Lynn and Sherry, forcing them to stop. David jogs around the track. As David closes in, Sean waves him over. David reluctantly joins them.
Lynn, Sherry, this is my buddy Davey, the romantic.
Lynn and Sherry smile appreciatively.
Welcome to Grand Elementary.
Thanks.
How about dinner tonight? We'll explain the ropes, and after, if you behave yourselves, I'll let you play with my medicine balls.
David, stunned, glares at Sean. Lynn and Sherry exchange looks of disgust, then jog off.
What'd I say?
Did you really think that would work?
Who needs them? Want to grab a few beers?
Can't, I'm busy.
Interior, David's apartment, living room, night. More library than living room. The shelves are stuffed with novels and books of poetry. David scans a bookshelf almost reverently, removes Immortality by Milan Kundera from the shelf, then sits on his couch and eats Chinese takeout while he reads. Interior living room later. David, lying on the couch, closes his book and drifts off to sleep. Interior classroom, fantasy, day. Helen, her back to us, writes on the board. David, an adult now, enters the room and gazes at her.
Miss Stone.
Helen turns.
Do I know you?
David Rubin. I was in your class. I sat right over there. I had a huge crush on you. I mean, huge. Think of the size of the Milky Way, then double it, and then you're still not even close. So,
Helen, charmed, steps closer and unbuttons her dress. David slips his arm under her dress and around her waist. They kiss. Interior living room, reality. David sleeps. The alarm sounds. David gets his bearings, then, disappointed, falls onto the floor and does push-ups. It's a struggle.
1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 13, 16, 32.
Unmotivated, David collapses. Exterior school day. David's noisy, chatty students eagerly board a school bus. David, lost in thought, waits by the door. The students sit. The driver taps on the horn. David, startled, hurriedly climbs on board. Interior bus day. The driver shuts the door. David gazes at the students as they talk and play. His mood lightens.
We'll be at the museum in 30 minutes. We're going to have fun today, right?
Right!
And we're going to look out for each other, right?
Right!
David smiles as the students relish the chance to scream.
And when the bus starts moving, no one's gonna say they have to pee. Right?
Right! David taps the driver, who promptly pulls out, then approaches Roberta, looking lonely in her front seat.
Mind a little company?
Roberta smiles and scoots over. David joins her. Exterior city block day. The bus creeps through city traffic. Inside the creeping bus, David is fully engaged. The students lean close to listen.
You'll see a world-famous painting by Vincent van Gogh called Irises. Does anyone know what irises are?
Hands go up.
Roberta.
A flower. You know Van Gogh killed himself, but he was already really old. He was 37.
The students are overwhelmed by this number.
I know, it's old. But toward the end of his life, Van Gogh painted 70 canvases in as many days. Even though he was so old, he was still passionate about his work.
Exterior street day. The bus stops at a light. David peers out the window, then is suddenly mesmerized. David's POV. Melissa Newman, 22, Helen Stone's twin, vibrant, joyful, with a heart-stopping smile, but blonde instead of Helen's brunette, sits in a fashionable bistro with Angela, also 22. The light changes, the bus starts to move.
Stop the bus.
The bus still moves, David stands.
Stop the bus.
The bus still moves.
Stop the goddamn bus!
The driver hits the brakes. The students look surprised. David's embarrassed by his outburst.
I'll be right back.
David races to the door. Michael, wearing a baseball cap, stands.
He should have peed before we left.
The driver opens the door. David leaps out. The students follow.
Wait here.
My mom told me to stay with you.
David turns back to the restaurant. David's POV. A waiter delivers a check to Melissa.
Shit.
Students laugh. End of scene.
Lou?
Yes.
He's there. Yay! We can hear you. Thank you very much for submitting your script. Did you hear it okay?
Yes, I did. I heard it fine.
Very good. I don't need to be yelling anymore, do I? I can't help it. He sounds like he's a long way away. Anyway, great job, actors. Thank you. So, do you want to go first? Do you want to talk to Lou? Do you want me to go first? How would you like to do it?
I have a few questions.
Okay. Lou, can
And
you?
then we can go from there. If that's
Holly, Lou, Holly, you can hear him. You can hear Holly, okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. Okay.
Nice to meet you. So, one, I wanted to know a little bit about what was the intended target for this. Like, what age range are you wanting to hit? Is it a film? Is it a TV show? I'm imagining it's a film. What are you aiming for on it?
But you know, what I did attend this was screen, as a first film, and really when I think it has like two different pieces. Like the whole part with younger David is more cute and sweet, but it becomes less of sort of a family kind of story, even though it's about a very strange young boy, and it really turns into something like what I intended, like a comedic Vertigo, in that he's trying to change this woman to make him meet his fantasy of her, and instead he has to learn to actually deal with the woman who she really is, along with her secret of the fact that she's actually a clone. So I don't know, I think maybe it's a little mixed up, the first up to page 25, and then what happens after. So I'm not clear what the target would be, is what I'm saying.
I think that for me that was clear in what I was already reading or hearing. I wasn't necessarily sure who you were aiming it for. Also, just in terms of some of the, with some of the Sean stuff that you were getting to at the end was probably a little bit crasser in terms of what he was going, and then I could tell that you were trying to go for this real sweet, kind of pedophile love story too.
Sweet inappropriateness.
I know. So I was trying to find it out.
Really inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell. One of the things that, when obviously we knew it was about cloning, especially with the title, but with how it comes back, one of the things that I had wanted to find in it was with Helen, all the conversations between she and David were, I love you, you don't love me, I love you, you don't love me, here's some poetry, it's love, love, love. And so, you know, he obviously has this kind of childhood fixation on her, but me as an audience member, I don't know anything about her outside of that. And so I wanted to know, and it would help, like, for when she comes back later as Melissa, to see, does she have some of the same characteristics, does she not, who is she actually, because we don't really know that as is.
Right.
So I'd like to have you explore that a little, and I think that you can do that in a lot of ways. One of the other things was, with Paul, her boyfriend, I didn't know why he needed to be such a jackass. And she could have had, like, because she's not going to have this love affair with David, but she can still be sweet and nice. So
Right.
if he can see her in a positive relationship with someone, then he can also want to emulate that later. And so it's also a little bit less stereotypical than the boyfriend that's a dumbass, that doesn't appreciate you, that falls asleep after sex. Like, actually having someone who responded to her in a way that challenged her in a way, then, you know, maybe we see that relationship either reflected or not reflected later with Melissa.
Sure, I understand.
Would that make it less creepy?
It'd make it super less creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, like, it's definitely a little creepy. Let's try and put that.
No, you can do that.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. So, you know, if you look at it with this childhood affection, but you see this woman who, yes, he's pushing it, but she definitely should have called the parents right away versus waiting for the third time that he went for her in some weird way.
Right.
You know, just to make you kind of like her a little. I would also look a little bit at the dialogue and just, you know, making sure that each character kind of stands out on their own, but doesn't do so in a way that feels pretty, like the dad's a businessman, the mom's into art, like trying to give a little bit of subtlety to some of their dialogue would be cool.
Okay. Do you want me to have a go?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, mine, I had a similar feeling. Yeah, I think we get also, I find we get the relationship, we get that David's got the crush really early, and I feel like you went to the well a couple more times than you needed to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, once that's established, and that's fine, and that would also reduce the creepiness factor, because there were times where she was sort of contemplating it, and it's like, what movie are we watching here? This is going to get entirely dark.
Yeah.
Which is its own film,
I
but
was
it's
literally
not
like,
a.
if it's a little older than this would.
Yeah.
This is a made-for-TV movie.
It is. It's a total old,
Fun
like,
fact.
Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
I'll wait for you when I get out of prison. So that would solve one of those problems. You know, once you hit that David's got a crush on the teacher, we all know crushes on teachers. So I don't think you need to belabor that point.
Right, of course.
And then the other point that I think was belabored, when I was reading this and then again hearing it, the title I felt was a giveaway, and then when they're having that whole conversation about the cloning house, she just happens to be the one who's a suitable candidate right after they've had the conversation at David's house about the cloning. I feel like if David had an enormous crush on a teacher who was a perfectly pleasant human being but rebuffed him, died, flash forward 23 years later, he's on a bus and he sees her, we're at page 10. And you have a whole bunch more room to really explore the what you want to do in the way you want to do it. And you don't have to mention cloning. Like, it doesn't need to really come up.
Well, I did like the one, like...
One reference?
The one reference.
Which one, the
like
David?
The sweet compliment of, like, I want to clone you or whatever.
Yeah.
But just the one. Because it was also every conversation about it with the parents and all of that, it definitely, the foreshadowing was like knocking you over the head with it, but it was, you know, it was also presented in a way of like, oh, this is happening, oh no, in the future. So I don't think that you need it.
right?
Mhm.
So one foreshadowing is always nice. And then the other thing was we're in 1985 for these first pages, and there's a lot more fun to be had with that, I thought. If you were going for fun, there wasn't really any 85-ish reference to anything. There were so many jokes you could, not the bad jokes, like, oh, when they see Donald Trump on TV, they're like, oh, he'll be president one day. Don't do that. But you know what I mean? It's like you can make more of the period, just a little bit,
Sure.
just to sort of just infuse it with it. I felt like it just needed a little bit of a, where we are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it doesn't seem like it's set in any time.
right. So I guess number one decision is decide what kind of a film you want to do, whether you want to do the
Yeah.
creepy vertigo thing, which sounds interesting. I mean,
But also decide who you're making the movie for, or TV
Right.
show for. So if you're doing that, go for it, versus like having it slightly younger, slightly older. Like if you're gonna be creepy, just go creepy. But if you're gonna try to make it, like find out who you're targeting, like who do you want to watch it, and say that, even if it's for you and you like it creepy.
So who would you, if let's say it's a Vertigo film, let's say it's a film about a man who had a crush on a teacher and then sees her 23 years later, like the replica of her, and wants to woo her and can make her into a version
It
of
depends
his.
on what version. Are you doing the Kathy Bates where like,
Right,
you
Love You
know,
in a
like,
Roman.
yeah, like you can go real creepy or not. And so
Right.
deciding that.
Right.
Are you making it like this sweet, weird kind of love story? And if so, they don't have to be like that far difference in age, because that's also 16 years. That's still pretty,
But true.
you could do, like, if he's in grade school and it's the 16-year-old, like, she's still not going to go for it. And then
Right.
that's at least not that much difference in
Right.
age.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so you have some decisions to make, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll take some questions from some comments from the audience. I will see them and you will not. Does anybody have anything they want to say to Luke? Yes, let's hear it.
Lou, are you interested in exploring the cloning aspect of it all in it? Do you do that all in the script?
Could you hear that, Lou?
Well, if the question was, do I do a lot about the science of cloning?
Yeah.
The answer is that I did not.
I just thought it'd be cool, like, I had an idea, you can take it, it's free. If he met like 3 more of the girl, and like he's like, fuck.
That would complicate things. or not.
That makes a good point, though. If you're not going to be doing any of the science of it, get rid of Sal, Annie, and George. It's completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Glenn, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I enjoy young David, but at the same time, if we are trying to focus more on the adult audience side and David's journey as far as an adult trying to force somebody into being who he thinks they are, I feel like we almost need a little bit less of young David getting to the adult David quicker, so that that's the story we then see. Okay, this is who this is the story we're now following and focusing on.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's what was said before, and I understand. That was part of the problem, that I was beating you over the head with the story of little David having a crush on his teacher.
But it is hard because he's very charming in his awkwardness. Like he's a great character to live with. But yeah.
Yeah, and Dan did a great job, by the way. Dan is actually 10 years old, so I think well done to Dan.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lindsay.
Hello, Lindsay.
I would love it. I really like that. I like that David is alone. He speaks the sonnet about being alone and pining when he's teaching his 3rd graders. But I also wonder if there's any sort of mileage to maybe have him having a relationship that mirrors the one that Helen had with, was it Paul? And him being deeply unsatisfied in a relationship because he still loves Helen. I don't know if I bought that he has been alone up to 33.
All right. That's a whole other movie. Tony.
So I had one question. It was she said it was like 1 month before school ended, and I was wondering why he was ramping up so much with his obsession now, today, versus like the whole year before that. What had happened to make him like all of a sudden start going to her house every night, or had he always been? I wasn't really sure about why it was happening, just like more so then. And then I think it's kind of, you all addressed it, how if it's shorter in the front, or young David, because he didn't really have any agency, he didn't really make any choices or make any decisions. By page 30, he just sees someone, and that was the end. And once cloning was mentioned, I assumed, or we're going to probably jump forward in time, and then 25 pages in, we jumped forward in time. And I was like, oh, okay, we did that. So I would imagine just get to that sooner.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all singing the same tune.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one last thing, which is to say that I really appreciated the comedic tone, and there were some really fun comedy elements, and so I would encourage you to lean away from the creepy Vertigo and lean towards the quirky rom-com. That was all my only little.
I think that would be
It's
good for this
fun. There's more fun to be
tone as
had.
well.
I would have more fun.
Yeah. Because you do a great job with that, Luke.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I mean, you create nice characters, and there's some funny lines in there, and some lovely little moments. So you don't need to go creepy. We're with you. I'm not being, Lou, did you? What I ask every writer at this point, and I'm going to ask you too. What did you get from listening to it out loud? Because you haven't heard it read. So what did you get?
Well, part of it was exactly what you were saying earlier on, that the scenes with David go on way too long. And then it made me think more also about the two different tones, because I do intend something with David as an adult. Really, I intended it to be more the romantic comedy with this obsession, and more to be played for laughs than to be played for something creepy. But maybe because I spent 25 pages of David,
creepy,
going after his teacher, that I've gone into some, I've gone someplace where I didn't really intend.
Yeah. Do you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to know from us, or anything that at all that concerns you?
Well, really, I think that we were very helpful, already. I don't have any other questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, Lou Wollin, everyone, congratulations. Thank
you. Lake Effect by Kevin Sullivan. Cold open. Exterior Lake George, gray afternoon. Various shots. Lake George, New York. The 32-mile-long lake is frozen. A white, wispy fog swirls close to the ice. Canada Street, the main thoroughfare of Lake George Village, is mostly empty. Snow is plowed to the street corners, piled high. Ice glistens off the sidewalks. The few people out navigate around the snow slowly. Video arcades, t-shirt shops, the Frankenstein Wax Museum, all signs of the town's thriving summer trade, are closed. Signs in several windows say, "Thanks for a great summer, see you in the spring." Fort William Henry, a replica of the actual fort that saw battle in both the French and Indian War and the Revolutionary War, stands dark on a hill overlooking the lake. 3 large ships, which provide summer cruises, are frozen in the ice. The Paddle Wheeler, Minnehaha, and the Mohican, and the Lac du Saint Sacrament are unnecessarily tied up at the pier, their decks empty of chairs. Motels along the lake are dark as well, their parking lots filled with unplowed snow. A vacancy sign on one of their marquees swings in the winter wind. On a snow-covered street, the red and blue flashing lights of 2 Lake George Sheriff's Department vehicles provide the only color on this dull gray afternoon. A car pulls up behind the sheriff's vehicles, and a man steps out. Close on, Adam McMahon, 35. He may come off more like an average Joe than a hero, especially in a parka that's a size too big, but he'll grow into it. Adam stands at the edge of the frozen lake. Before him, on the ice, are 2 sheriff's deputies. Adam takes a tentative step out onto ice, testing its strength. It creaks. He takes a second step, and now he's fully on the ice. He takes a breath and moves forward.
How long has she been dead?
On Carrie Picarillo, 30s, and Kyle Schaefer, 40s. Their parkas, complete with Lake George Sheriff's Department logos, are unzipped. Unlike Adam, they're used to the cold. They're standing in the middle of the frozen lake, looking down at something on the ice.
She?
Carrie shrugs. Kyle nods toward the shore, where an elderly couple stand on a boat dock, straining to sea. With them is Vincent Moss, mid-30s, the one and only local newspaper reporter. He's interviewing the couple while trying to get a better look at what the deputies are huddled around.
Mrs. Clark noticed the body around 11:15. Said it wasn't here at 10:30.
Mrs. Clark doesn't miss a trick. She'll love seeing her name in the paper.
Who told Moss this was a story? That guy creeps me out.
How about a cause of death?
I'm not the coroner or an ornithologist. A person who studies birds.
On the ice, the body of a large bald eagle, fairly mangled from impact with the frozen lake. Not pretty.
2 eagles build a nest together on Cane Island. I hope this isn't one of them.
Yeah, you can break the news to the surviving partner.
Kyle sees Adam slipping and sliding his way across the ice toward them.
Oh, Christ.
What's happening, is it?
You shouldn't be out here, Mr. McMahon.
Adam's almost to them.
Is it them?
He reaches them and Carrie puts her arms out to steady him.
No, it's not.
Adam sees the dead bird on the ice.
Oh.
He's somewhere between relieved and disappointed, and the adrenaline rush is overwhelming.
I was driving home, I saw your cars, the lights, and I thought...
Adam doubles over in an attempt to catch his breath.
Look, it looks like it just fell out of the sky. I'm surprised it didn't crack the ice on impact.
Adam looks up quickly.
Relax, Adam. The ice is 9 inches thick.
Adam nods, unconvinced.
Where the hell is the coroner? Or should we have called the vet?
Come on, I'll walk you back.
She begins the tentative walk back to land. The ice makes a cracking sound, and Adam looks down anxiously.
Don't worry, the ice is just
getting settled.
You'd think by now I'd be plenty settled.
Adam looks toward land, where lights glow in homes that dot the shoreline. So warm, so cozy, so far away. He looks down at the dead bird, at the blackness below the ice.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Adam follows Carrie back towards solid ground, slipping on the ice and righting himself as he goes. End of Cold Open, Act 1. Interior bedroom, early morning. So early that it's pitch black out. Adam wakes up slowly, buried under layers of blankets and quilts. He grabs a bathrobe and hurries out of the room. Interior hallway continuous. Adam walks past a wall littered with photos and turns the thermostat up. He continues on to interior living room, kitchen continuous. He turns the light on as he enters, revealing a shabby chic, completely Adirondack living room and kitchen, rustic and woodsy, dark and lived in. In the corner, a sad, naked Christmas tree sags. Adam looks out a frosty window at a snow and ice-covered street lit by a single street lamp. He shivers. Adam enters the kitchen area, separated from the living room by a countertop with 2 stools in front of it. The coffee maker is already brewing. He pulls his phone out, dials his voicemail, then hits speaker and places the phone on the counter. Adam opens the refrigerator and pulls out eggs and milk. He begins cracking and scrambling eggs as the phone connects. First, new message.
Mr. McMahon, this is Vincent Moss from the Lake George Post-Gazette. Again, I'd like to...
Adam presses delete. Second, new message.
Adam, hey, it's Max. Call me. The network's gonna go one more season. We gotta get you back.
Adam presses delete. End of messages. Adam turns off the phone.
Jack, rise and shine.
Interior Jack's bedroom, continuous. To call the room messy would be an understatement. Unmade bed, piles of clothes, books, a record player. A hockey stick and skates spill out of the closet. The room is empty, the window open, the curtains blowing.
Jack!
Suddenly, a young boy climbs through the window. Jack, 14, the definition of moody teenager. The parka and boots come off, flying across the room. He leaps into bed and pulls the covers up, then closes his eyes. A moment later, Adam knocks on the door and pokes his head in.
Hey, Jack, time to get up. No wonder I'm freezing.
Adam walks over and closes the window. Jack does an Oscar-worthy turn as someone just waking up.
I'm making eggs.
Again?
I'll learn something new, I promise. Come on, get in the shower.
He starts to close the door, then turns back. Jack, who'd begun to sit up, flops back down, clothes hidden.
We need to take that poor tree to the curb. Maybe tomorrow morning?
Sure.
Adam closes the door behind him. Jack sighs. Exterior Lake George Village, morning. Follow Adam's car as it drives through the snow-filled center of Lake George. In the roundabout, an enormous Christmas tree stands, fully decorated. Adam's car passes it and heads down Lakeshore Drive. The car passes the closed and empty lakeside motels. Flyers with the word missing on them hang haphazardly on several telephone poles, with the smiling faces of a man and a woman, but we pass too quickly to see more. Interior Adam's car continuous. Adam drives. Jack stares silently out the passenger window.
Don't forget, tomorrow night is dinner with Grandma and Grandpa.
Do we have to?
They like to see you.
Jack looks out the window. Interior Adam's car later. Adam arrives in front of the school, part of a caravan of parents dropping off their children. Jack unhooks his seatbelt, grabs his bag and hockey stick from the back seat.
See you after practice. Be careful.
The lake is totally frozen. You need to relax, Uncle Adam.
Jack closes the door and walks off. Adam chuckles at his nephew's advice and drives away. Stay on Jack as he walks up the path and climbs the stairs to the entrance of the school. Kids milling about in their various cliques regard him warily. Some whisper to each other. Most look away. Jack puts his head down and walks. Interior Lake George Athletic Club pool, morning. Several lanes of the Olympic-sized pool are filled with swimmers. We follow Adam as he swims vigorously in his lane, reaches the wall, kicks off, and swims to the other side. When he arrives at the wall, he stops, stands, removes his goggles. An older woman puts on goggles and lowers herself into the lane next to him.
Oh, they turned the heater on.
It's nice. This is the warmest it's been in the last month.
I like it cold, more invigorating.
There's enough invigoration for me outside.
Where are you from, Florida?
Adam pulls himself out of the pool, sits on the edge.
Los Angeles.
Close enough.
The woman kicks off and is gone. Adam stays on the edge, catching his breath. Interior Blue Whale Diner, morning. The diner is crowded and conversations buzz around the room. The bell above the door jingles and Adam enters, bundled up, a copy of the Lake George Post-Gazette tucked under his arm. The shift in energy in the room is immediate. Voices lower. Some people boldly stare. Most avert their eyes, making eye contact with people at each other or at other tables. Yes, that's him. Adam feels it. His appetite vanishes. He stands at the sign that says, "Please wait to be seated." The host disappears.
Table for one.
No. Can I just get a coffee to go?
Absolutely. I'll be right back.
Adam smiles at her, but the minute she's gone, it disappears. He looks around the room, challenging, wanting to see who will make eye contact. No one does. The hostess returns with a large coffee.
Here you are, sweetie.
Adam pulls out a $5, but she tries to wave him off.
Oh, I'm the house.
That's kind of you, but no.
He smiles and forces the money into her hand. He realizes he may have been a bit too forceful. His fake smile returns.
Thank you, though.
Exterior Blue Whale Diner continuous. Adam steps out onto the sidewalk. His desire for coffee, like breakfast, is now gone. He tosses the cup in a trash can.
Mr. McMahon.
Adam turns. Walking toward him is Sheriff Don Preston, late 60s, gruff and intimidating, like the grandfather who scared you a little as a child. He's accompanied by Kyle, who can't conceal the smirk on his face.
Sheriff.
I hear you applied for a job as my new deputy last night.
Adam's confused for a second. The ice, the eagle, he nods.
I'm sorry about that. I saw the flashing lights. I thought it might be.
I understand, son. But had that actually been...
He stops, looking for the right words. No one's saying them.
If that had actually been a crime scene, then your presence might have contaminated evidence. I'm going to ask you to exercise more restraint in the future.
It won't happen again.
Adam's about to address that when Don quickly steps in.
Oh, wait, no, I think I'm sorry, it's not highlighted. Leave the investigating to us.
Adam's about to address that when Don quickly steps in.
What Deputy Schaefer means is leave the investigation to the Warren County detectives who are working the case.
You'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated with Detective Burke.
I sympathize, but she is the lead detective, whether you're happy with her results thus far or not.
What results? I think she's waiting for the lake to thaw and hoping the bodies will just bob to the surface. Tell you what, you go through this and then come back and tell me how to properly behave.
Adam turns and walks away. Kyle opens his mouth to say something, but Don holds up his hand, stopping him. Exterior street a little later. Adam walks up to his car. He sees the other deputy, Carrie, checking the parking meters.
Please don't tell me I'm getting a ticket.
Nah, I recognize Danny's SUV and put another quarter in.
Adam starts digging in his pocket for change.
Let me settle my tab while I can.
No need. I always take some change from Kyle's desk before I come out here. So, I didn't get to show you this last night.
She pulls her hat off, revealing dark red hair.
Wow.
I know, right? My psychic said January would feel like the color red, so figured what the hell.
I love it. Listen, I'm sorry about last
Oh my
night.
God, don't apologize. I was actually happy to see you. That came out wrong. I just mean it's been a while. I thought maybe you'd gone home.
Not yet. I think that time is coming, though.
He said it out loud, not sure how it makes him feel.
How was your Christmas?
Weird. I convinced Jack to get a tree, but then the idea of pulling out all of Annie's decorations seemed to paralyze us.
And your parents?
They overdid it. I think my mother was hoping to guide Charlie and Annie home with a million blinding Christmas lights. Yesterday was 1 month.
Already?
Suddenly eager to change the subject, he points to an expired meter.
Ooh, busted.
Well, that's Delia Nagy's Mazda.
She slips a quarter in the meter.
And here I thought you only did that for me.
I try not to ticket locals, just the out-of-towners. Here, Quebec. They can afford it. They don't have to pay for healthcare.
She begins to write a ticket.
You're a meter-maid Robin Hood. With all the New York plates, how do you know who's local?
There are only 900 people here in the winter. Stay here long enough and you'll know what everyone drives and when those cars are parked in the wrong driveways. You know what I mean?
She leers and raises her eyebrows.
That is a terrible leer.
I know.
Exterior Fort William Henry, late afternoon. Adam stands on the sidewalk looking at the fort. Its wooden walls loom ominously above him, casting him in shadow. Motion on his left breaks his trance. He turns and sees Catherine King, early 40s. She carries herself with an elegance that stands out up here.
Sorry, I didn't want to disturb you.
Mrs. King.
Catherine, please. I wasn't sure if you'd remember me, but I'm not the only one who stopped over with a casserole.
Catherine looks at Adam more closely.
It's amazing how much you look like your brother. I really didn't mean to interrupt.
My mind was just wandering. I've always been amazed by this fort. It's amazing to think of the history that happened here.
Well, not exactly here. The real fort was burned by the French. This is just a replica. So has there been any news? I think there'd be news. People just don't doubt it. I'm sorry. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
I highly doubt that. Frankly, I'd be worried if you were.
They begin walking toward the village in silence. Adam's hands are in his pockets. Catherine slips her arm through his. He looks over at her, surprised. She smiles sadly.
You know, the lake is so beautiful in winter. I know people prefer it in the summer, but I think they overlook the serenity of it. Frozen over, locked away. There's something mysterious and peaceful about it now.
Adam shivers, recalling being out on the ice last night.
I'm much more of a summer guy, obviously. This place hasn't changed in 30 years. We used to come up here in the summer when I was a kid.
Yeah, I know. Charlie said you were terrified of the guy who dresses up in the Frankenstein costume outside the Wax Museum.
That lying bastard. He was the one who would cry at the sight of Frankenstein, even if we were just driving by on our way to ice cream. It's true. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were so close to him.
Word.
I've been having a hell of a time with tenses lately.
I mostly know Annie. Once in a while, the four of us would have dinner together. Did Jack tell you that he's in the same grade as my daughter, Claire?
He's not much of a talker.
Well, she's having a party this weekend. I know she invited him, but just...
I finally got him back to go to hockey practice. I told him he can't stop his life. Of course, his life has stopped.
Catherine squeezes his arm. Adam looks at her as if suddenly reminded she's there. She offers a sad smile, and they walk on. Exterior, Adam's parents' home, night. A simple Cape Cod with a Christmas wreath on the door and lights wrapped around the mailbox, the corners of the house, and all across the gutters. Adam's car is in the driveway. Interior, Adam's parents' home, dining room, continuous. Adam and Jack sit on opposite sides of the table. Adam's parents, John and Helen, both mid-60s, sit at each end.
Whew, it's going to be colder tonight.
Is that even possible?
You're blood thin. You've been in LA too long.
Have you been doing any writing?
Not a bit. It's nice to be away from work. My brain feels like it's on vacation.
This is hardly a vacation.
I know. That's not what I meant.
Oh, I almost forgot the rolls.
She dashes into the kitchen and returns with a basket, placing it on the table near Jack.
Here you go, Jack. Remember that Thanksgiving? How old was Charlie? He was 10. I slaved away all day on that meal, hours and hours on the turkey, the homemade stuffing, and all the vegetables.
That was the first year you tried baking Brussels sprouts, and the last, if I recall.
That's right. And after all that, Charlie turns to me and says that the rolls were the best part. The rolls! Pillsbury dough from the freezer, and it's the best part of the meal? Oh, I'll have to make those rolls when Charlie comes home.
Adam looks up, surprised. Jack shifts almost imperceptibly, but his head remains down. Adam looks to his father, who says nothing. They eat in silence for a moment.
So, speaking of my writing, I heard from my agent. It seems like the show is getting another season.
That's wonderful, honey. Congratulations.
Thanks. So, I mean, I should probably start thinking about getting back.
May I be excused?
He doesn't wait for an answer. He's gone. Adam shakes his head, certain he drove Jack off. Helen pats his hand with hers, then gets up and takes his plate to the kitchen. Adam's afraid to look at his father.
I'm thinking next week, the week after at the latest.
Good for you. I think it'll be good for you to get back to your own life. Jack can get settled here until Charlie and Annie come home.
Dad, really? I think...
You think what?
There's challenge in John's voice, and Adam doesn't respond. John returns to his meal, eating in silence. Adam watches as he reaches for one of the dinner rolls. Interior Adam's apartment, early morning. Adam stands at the stove, shivering. A box of pancake mix is open, and remnants dust the counter and his robe. He flips some pancakes, then slides them onto a plate.
Jack, breakfast!
Adam's cell phone rings. He looks at the caller ID, then answers anyway.
Hey, Max.
Intercut between Adam and Max, Adam's agent, a very hyper 55-year-old. Max is out of breath. He's always out of breath.
Yeah, you actually answered. It's a miracle. Of course, I'm calling at 3:30 a.m. my time. Hey, how's the weather?
It's freezing.
Yeah, I know. Hey, any news on your brother?
No.
I'm sorry. So, let's talk Taekwon Doberman.
Sorry. Hearing that name after everything, it makes me laugh.
You've been laughing all the way to the bank for the last 6 years. Let's go for 7.
Relax, I got your message. I'm coming back. Give me a week or so. I gotta ease out of here slowly.
I'll tell the studio. They'll be thrilled. I am too. I was worried you're gonna stay out there until they found your brother, and who knows how long that could take.
Right.
I'm just saying that you putting your life on hold doesn't help anyone.
So I hear. Listen, I gotta go. I'll call you with details once I get a plane ticket.
Adam disconnects and tosses the phone on the couch. He stands there a moment, thinking about what Max said. Then...
Jack! Breakfast! Come on, let's go!
No reply. Adam walks down the hall towards Jack's door.
Jack! Prepare to be shocked because I made something new.
He knocks, then opens Jack's door. The room is empty, the window wide open. The curtains blow in the cold morning air. End Act 1. Act 2. Interior Adam's living room later. A frantic Adam is on the phone with Carrie, who sits at her desk in the sheriff's office. Intercut between them.
What do? I don't know what to do.
It's okay, stay calm. Have you called your parents?
God, no. The last thing they need is another missing person.
I'm sure Jack's not missing. Kids sneak out. That's probably all he did.
That's all?
Do you want me to come over?
Why would he sneak out?
Were you ever a teenager? Maybe he was with a girl.
A girl?
A boy?
Wait, no, it's not. He's 14. He shouldn't be with anyone.
I'm coming over.
Just then, Jack enters from his bedroom, pajamas on, working his I just woke up act.
What's up?
Oh my God.
Is that Jack?
He's here. I'll call you later. Thank you.
Adam hangs up and crosses to Jack, hugging him.
Dude!
Jack squirms free. Adam's relief turns to fury.
Where the hell have you been? Any explanation for why you weren't in your room?
You went in my room?
Now's not the time for you to get indignant. Were you with a girl?
What?
A boy?
Oh my God, we're not all gay. Jesus.
Were you buying drugs? Fine, consider yourself grounded.
What?
Yeah, until you tell me what's so important outside this house, you aren't leaving it.
Oh, come on.
I'll drive you to school, I'll pick you up.
I have practice.
No hockey.
Dad!
Jack freezes, horrified. Adam's just as paralyzed. Jack runs down the hall. A moment later, his door slams. Adam takes a deep breath. His hands shake. Interior Adam's bedroom later. Adam, now dressed, sits on the bed on the phone with Michael, 30s, who's 3 hours earlier in L.A. and lays in bed in the dark, intercut between them.
He's a teenager. You were one once.
No, I wasn't. I was so terrified of being found out that I became the perfect kid. I left the rebelling to Charlie. I drive Jack to school, and there are Charlie and Annie's faces on flyers, and I don't mention them. It's as if that will make it not real. I'm terrified of what he thinks.
Look, you don't have to do this, honey. You don't have to be Jack's surrogate parent.
I know. Actually,
I'm worried about you. Taking on all this extra stress.
I didn't take it on, it just is.
But you don't have to be there in the center of it.
It's my brother, of course I have to.
No, it's been a month, hon. Come home. You said you'd be back right after Christmas.
I said after Christmas.
And now it's after New Year's.
And you said you'd fly in for Christmas.
We've been over this.
I know, work, I get it.
You don't sound like you get it.
If I'm expected to understand why you can't come here for 3 days, then you have to understand why I'm not back yet.
They're silent. Adam rubs his face, shakes his head. All desire to tell Michael he's decided to come home is now gone.
I'm sorry.
Me too. I better go. I need to nail Jack's window shut.
Okay. Hang in there. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Adam hangs up and sits back down on the bed, wiped out. He looks at the clock, 7:15 a.m. That's it. Exterior Lake George Junior Senior High School day. Buses deposit children at the front doors. Nearby, a line of cars does the same. Adam drives up to the curb, a sullen Jack in the passenger seat.
I'll pick you up right here at 2:45.
This blows.
Listen. About before.
Jack unbuckles his seatbelt and slams out of the door, out of the car, walking head down into school. Adam watches him go. There's a knock on the driver's window and Adam jumps. Catherine smiles. He rolls down the window.
I was just going for coffee. Can I buy you one?
Only if you make mine a vodka tonic.
Exterior Lake George Street later. Catherine and Adam walk gingerly down the icy sidewalk.
I'm glad he's okay. Did he tell you where he was?
Nope, he's officially grounded for life.
Yeah, I've handed that sentence down myself on more than one occasion to the same kid.
I don't even know if I have the authority to make such rules. I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm even doing it.
Here's a secret I'm not supposed to reveal. We're all making it up as we go along.
Yeah, but at least you signed up for this.
Trust me, if I had known what I was getting into, I might have thought twice. Oh, we're here.
They arrive in front of Ye Olde Ice Cream Parlor.
I'm turning you on to one of Lake George's best kept secrets.
She points to a sign in the window, the lake's best coffee. She smiles at him, pulls open the door, and enters. Interior ice cream parlor continuous. It's definitely a tourist trap. Red and white striped tablecloths, iron-backed chairs, a player piano in the corner. Heck, the bell on the door even jingled when they entered. 3 people line up for coffee, and a man behind the counter waits on them. He's Robert Dealey, 35. Even in an apron with a smiling ice cream cone on it, he brings the swagger. Adam and Catherine get in line.
Don't let the cheesy decor fool you.
Heard that.
You were meant to.
The customers in front of them take their coffees and turn to go. They recognize Adam and hesitate, and Adam senses it, the same tension he felt at the diner. He stares until the 3 turn away. The bell over the door jingles as they exit. Catherine steps up to the counter.
Good morning, Mrs. King.
Mr. Dealey, 2 please.
Adam is watching the customers through the window. They look back at him, then caught, hurry away down the street. The name Dealey gets Adam's attention. He turns to the counter and looks at Robert. He squints. Something familiar. Adam watches Robert trying to make some connection, and then he makes it, and the smile drops from his face. Robert hands Catherine the coffees.
The world's best coffee.
Unnerved, Adam takes his styrofoam cup.
Hey, I only promised the lake's best coffee,
Fortune favors the bold.
but the meek shall inherit the earth.
They smile at each other. Adam misses whatever has just passed between them. Robert turns to him.
You look familiar.
Oh, sorry, Robert. This is Adam McMahon, Charlie's brother. Adam, Robert Dealey.
Charlie's a good man. He eats ice cream year-round. I like that about him. I hope he and Annie will be found safe.
Thank you.
Adam can't believe this jerk doesn't even remember him. The bell on the door jingles, and Mark King, mid-40s, enters, big guy jovial.
Oh, hi, honey.
Hey, how did I know I'd find you here? Robert, you are enabling a very serious addict.
Catherine holds up her coffee.
Would it help if I said I brought this for you?
I never buy that line when the kids use it, but it's adorable when you try.
He takes her coffee and kisses her cheek. Adam remains staring at Robert.
Listen, I think I found our new night manager. Can you drive up to Bolton with me right now?
He begins to guide her toward the door. She turns to Adam.
The perils of owning a motel. Sorry.
How much do I owe?
Oh, my treat. From one frazzled parent to another. Vodka next time, I promise.
She smiles as Mark guides her out. Robert turns to Adam.
So, it's a verdict on the coffee.
We know each other. You're Robbie Dealey. We went to Stratford High together?
I haven't been called Robbie since Stratford High.
The bell jingles and 2 customers enter, laughing loudly.
Never mind. Thanks for the coffee.
Adam exits the shop quickly. Interior Lake George Athletic Club pool, afternoon. Adam swims his laps. He reaches the wall and stops, catching his breath. Suddenly, a female lifeguard blows an air horn. Startled, Adam turns to see the lifeguard jump down off her seat and jump into the water. Adam sees an older man in a bathing cap floating in the water. The lifeguard reaches him, flips him over, and begins to pull him to the edge of the pool. Adam pulls himself out of the water and rushes to the edge. He bends down and takes the man from the lifeguard, pulling him out of the water. Suddenly, a second lifeguard rushes in.
I've got this, sir.
The lifeguard pushes Adam out of the way and begins administering CPR.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The lifeguard blows into the man's mouth, then counts again. Adam stands back, unable to move. The room is quiet. The only sound is the lifeguard working. A moment later, the old man comes. Interior locker room moments later. Adam enters and goes to his locker. As he's fiddling with the combination, a quick sob escapes him. He leans his head against the locker and lets out a deep breath.
So, if it was a comedy, I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
working jokes aren't landing.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first this time.
Oh, okay.
Or I can, whichever, but you go first.
All right, I'll have a go. Well, I'll get technical first. Scene description. Could you tell it was a bit much?
I did. Hearing it out loud, I did. Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and you can.
I didn't mind it.
You didn't mind? Oh, fine. Then I'm not going to listen to. I'm just going to share my opinion. There was a bit too much because there's a line. And so sometimes, there's a lot of description, but even in the beginning, the wintry stuff I thought was really good, but there was just like one too many descriptions. Yeah. It's like, I get that it's really, really cold. I didn't need the swinging thing at the end. Like, I don't know, there's just little things. Adam, I really like the way you unveil things. Like, if it's not just like that horrible pilot episode thing where it's like, hi, I'm Adam, I just arrived here from LA.
Well, that was the first draft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you did a really great job of sort of easing into the information. But then I found once you'd eased into the information, it kind of stopped. Like, not much else. Once we got by the sort of middle part, what was going on, I was trying to think, just listening to it now, what really happened between like page 15 and page 30? We had conversation with the boyfriend back in LA. We had the conversation with the parents. We had Jack being grounded, I guess. But in terms of actual moving things, I didn't feel like a lot. Like I didn't learn anything really new in that section that I had already learned. And so I was like, this thing's kind of grinding to a halt. And then at the same time, I felt like Adam wasn't really driving much of anything. He was just sort of wandering around through town and people, and if it had been a month, the fact that people were still looking at him funny and sideways and awkward, I was just like, okay, I get that, but it's sort of, this is not a very friendly town. But again, he's not doing anything. He's not really, I kind of was hoping that there would be something more to him, something revealed or something because I was just thinking as well as I was listening, it would help me with the tone. It's like, where are we in this? Is this going to be dark? Is he secretly addicted to heroin? Or is this sort of just a friendly thing? Or is he, just where are we? Mm-hmm. I still didn't get a really strong sense of what kind of a show, whether you were going dark or whether you were going, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just sort of, that was my feeling. And then the final thing was, and I mean this with all due respect to everybody everywhere, I was a bit disappointed that he was gay. Because you had, not because he was gay, because I don't care, but you had set up 2 really strong female characters to interact with a hint of romance-y sort of thing. And then you kind of pulled the rug out. And because I was trying to think of reasons that he could stay, or or sort of awkward things he's going to get stuck with if this is a series, right?
Yes.
So, you know, like what kind of dramas can I see coming down the pike? Like what kind of, there's going to be a love triangle with the policewoman, and there's the potentially boozy, you know, mother, you know,
right.
Catherine, and,
Right.
and then it was like, he's gay. None of that's going to happen. And so it's like, well, what am I left with? What's potential intrigue is going to occur when he's not really driving much. Yes, he's got a teenage kid, and we don't know what's going on with him. But his parents we know, the neighborhood we know, the town we know. It's sort of like, and he's leaving anyway. And I know that you're going to come up with a reason for him to stay. But that was sort of, so I was just like, I just want to, you know, especially if it's 1 hour.
Yeah.
So you're 10, 15 pages away from. I mean, unless you're doing the full 60.
Yeah, it's 62.
Okay. So anyway, that's what I thought. What did you do?
So,
I'll back up so you can see.
I definitely, like, because you had said cold open in Act 1 and things like that, I realized that it was for TV.
Right.
But the cold open itself, I didn't, you know, it's set up, it wasn't a lot of action to set it up. Like if I had seen that cold open, I would have been like, all right, you know, cool.
Very cool.
I didn't really get what I was supposed to be seeing. I couldn't get into Adam. I didn't know if he had Asperger's. Some people were like, there's a crazy guy coming. You know, he's coming on the ice and he's slipping on the way back. So I didn't get a good sense of who he was. I didn't get a good sense of what the world was. I liked the descriptions of the town, and it was this, you know, I like that you set it up to where it's a lazy town. You're seeing it. It's, you know, the Hamptons after, you know, but ice. And so that made a lot of sense to me. But then I saw that and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be watching. It's a dead bird. There's not a body. There's obviously something going on, but there wasn't enough. Because I literally was like, okay, he's the Asperger's-y guy in town. That they're like, we got to take care of him. Make sure he gets back okay. Right. So it wasn't set up clearly like what this is going to be. I'm still not that sure what it's going to be. Everything was a slow reveal, which I like some things as a slow reveal, but I don't think it's necessary for everything. So, you know, okay, his brother and wife are missing. I don't understand why he's in town if his parents live there, and the kid could have just gone to stay with them, and especially if they're anticipating taking him afterwards. I don't mind that he's gay, but it's the same thing. Like you've set it up.
I don't mind he's gay.
No. But it was a slow reveal after. Like you played with flirting, and then it's like, but he's gay, and it's like, oh, okay. Like there were just like a lot of twists that didn't necessarily. Like I'm wanting it to lead somewhere where it just kind of was like, okay, this is information. I don't know what's happening in each act. I don't know what the story driver is. I don't know what it's about. And so where is the action? What are people doing? What are we going to be seeing in the series? Like I still right now have no idea what it's about. His, you know, what am I coming back to week to week? So I really liked your characters. I thought that your dialogue was really strong. Each one of them had a really different voice and seemed really authentic. I thought that the conversations that you had between them were really good. I agreed, like I didn't realize, like why are people still looking at him weird? And so it's like, okay, has he done something? Or like, did he do something to that last guy, Robbie? Like what's happening? And if he has been there for a month, like after a while, like this is so-and-so's brother. Like you're like, hey, have you heard any information? Like it's probably a little bit of the opposite of versus looking away from them. Another question. Are you anticipating having the writing, like that he is a writer and from LA as part of the story overall?
No, it's basically to set up that he's a fish out of the water.
Okay. I would have him be something else. It's very insular. Like we're in LA, everybody we know are actors and writers and all of that. Anywhere else, like that's the weirdest occupation. And so it makes it almost instantly unrelatable to whatever audience that you're going for. So it's, you know, he could be whatever else just in that town, like on a sabbatical, or, you know, the teacher thing, not the creepy teacher. But, you can take time off and have to go back. There are many occupations where it's like, you know, I have to be there. Yeah, exactly. So just, it's something that I see a lot, like, you know, right, it's what we relate to, and so we put that in there, but nobody else
Well, I mean,
relates
that's
to it.
literally what I do. I kind of wrote what I knew.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
So
And
quit your job and get another job.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. Before you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
So yeah, it made me have a lot of questions. Like, also, is Carrie the person that Adam was complaining about to the sheriff?
No.
Oh, yeah, I had that question.
No.
There's someone else there, but I don't know who that is. So I have a feeling they're going to be pretty important.
Yes.
But we have no idea about them. So I don't know if we see her walk by or whatever. But I was very confused with that. Also, the whole Jack calling him dad. I think after a month, it might be pretty soon to do that. I don't know. But maybe like, you're not my dad, or like that's just, because I didn't believe that a kid who's going through this would accidentally call his uncle, who he's known his whole life, his dad. And so I like the drama of it and them being upset, but maybe every kid has said at some point to a step or whatever, you're not my dad. But yeah, the big ones are, I don't know what's happening.
That's a big one.
What the hell is going on? Yeah, it's almost like, I know I had a stab at one of these a couple of years ago, and you get caught up in the reveal.
So what is going on?
Yeah, what is going on? Yeah. Because we'll never see you again. So.
No, but also I can talk to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The basic premise is the brother and sister-in-law Adam's brother and sister-in-law are missing. And his presence being back there is just him trying to figure out his place in his family, in this town, kind of an identity thing.
Okay.
The original premise of it was completely different, actually. At the end of the first hour, Catherine is found dead on the ice.
Okay.
And
sorry, Lindsay.
And I met with a producer at Jill Soloway's company who loved this, said take the mystery out and just make it a family drama.
Right.
And I was intrigued by having some mystery kind of happening in the background just to kind of underscore the darkness of the town I'm not a Twin Peaks fan, so not that dark.
Right.
And she suggested, what if, and that version, the brother and sister-in-law were dead. They had died in a plane crash, and Adam was there permanently to raise his nephew.
Okay.
And she suggested, what if the brother and sister-in-law are missing, and there's your mystery.
Right.
So, but the basic premise of it is still Adam figuring out his place. The rest of the first hour, you learn that Robbie was the school bully who tormented him, despite the fact that in school Adam had a massive crush on him. And you later find out that Robbie is now married but gay, and Adam's parents challenge him for custody. The thing that makes him stay at the end of the hour is learning that in their will, Charlie and Annie left Jack to Adam. And he's like, well, then I cannot leave until I know what's going on. So he decides to stay. So it's Adam trying to figure out his place in this world and who he is while trying to deal with the fact that his brother's gone. And also his brother was the perfect child. And now, as this investigation goes forward, you start to learn that he wasn't the perfect child. And like, how much of that do you tell the parents? How do you glory in the "I told you so," or do you let them believe that just because you're gay, you're the shitty child, you know, and let them have their golden son?
I wonder if you drop a few hints of the brother not being the perfect child or something earlier. You know, to where
earlier in the because it happens in the second half of this hour.
Because I wouldn't make it there. I need some action to be happening in some way. And so if you're not wanting to do the dead body thing, which is totally fine, there's so many dead body shows.
That was the note too, absolutely.
Then, you know, things coming out on either way. Like, look at each one of these characters and, you know, see how messy you can make it. So like with Robbie, you know, did he have some sort of relationship or something with the brother, or, you know, like the Catherine, did she have some sort of, you know, relationship with someone?
And all of that is
I'm sure it's there,
slow
but
burn.
start,
I like that, definitely.
start
Yeah.
put something in that, like, did he have, like, did Adam, are they looking at him weird because something happened in high school and he's still living that over that, like, or he left with a mystery behind him or something, like, trying to make it as messy as possible. And every single character that you introduce should have some weird storyline that's gonna connect in some way. Like, there's no character that you're introducing that's just there for fun.
Right, no, they all do, but
And
you're
so,
clearly
like,
right, we're not getting to it.
Yeah.
Except the eagle. What
He's
the hell
not there
happened to
for
the eagle?
fun.
Yeah. I was hoping there'd be some eagle
He
payoff.
had no
but
fun.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
There is an eagle payoff?
There is an eagle payoff.
Yeah, so you subscribe to the pilot theory where, like, shove everything in as early as you can and get it all sloppy and messy, so that.
But
like,
leave hints to where
More,
if you
yeah.
are, you know, like, let's say it was a Dead Body show, right? And one of these first people is the killer. These are all the people that you're gonna see. You're gonna have this red herring, this red herring, that red herring, this red herring. Like, what's going on in that town? Like, there's gotta be politics going on in some way. What were they involved in? Like, what are some drama elements that you can put in? Like, are we gonna find out that, like, Adam might have secretly been having an affair with Robbie, but also was like in and trying to buy some waterfront property, or, you know, like, what are
Absolutely.
all the different things that it can relate to? And the same thing with his wife. Like, it's gotta be just crazy. So when you get to the finale and you reveal, like, whatever, you know, that you've laid all those breadcrumbs throughout.
They're all there, they're just not there soon enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I hate pitching, but what about the idea that you actually start really early on with the custody, like the parents reveal?
Oh, I think that
So that's
that
sort of
should
like
be early.
super early.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah, because I basically was like, yeah, why is he staying with his brother? Why isn't he with the parents? I don't get it. And is he the guardian? And so
you created conflict right up front.
Yeah, and it can be something that, yeah, fighting over that custody.
Because then you get a chance to the door it opens, as I was thinking, was that it gives the parents an opportunity to be, like, pleasant and yet trying to undercut Adam every
Right.
chance they get, which is a way to reveal Adam's dark secrets or hint at them, because the parents are like, you know, what happens if people find out about that thing in, you know, high school? You don't have to say what it is, but you know what I mean? It's like, and they're being the pricks. And then there's just other devices, other ways to kind of get information out, or little bits and pieces of it, so that we jump right in. I think what Holly's saying is just like jump right into the story.
Right.
Because you do a great job with the setting of the scene. I mean, I think that's easy. You can relax. It's like you got that any time. You can throw in the scene setting. Now you need to really jump into engaging us in why we want to stay in this freezing ass place with no more eagles.
There's another eagle.
Oh, there is another eagle?
Yeah, you
I
said
hope-
that
yeah,
there was
hopefully.
a family of eagles that
Yes.
came where you
It could have been a
that
visitor.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Maybe that'll be revealed.
I thought that.
Should we take comments?
Yeah, I'm thinking of, like, with the parent thing, I think that you covered it. It was just, yeah.
We can wait.
I'll come back to it.
All right. Anything from the audience?
The first act was super long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn, I see your hand went up first. You win.
I mean, I'm a sucker for slow burn mystery stuff. So I definitely loved the peripheral stuff that you set up, and I love that last moment on page 29 with him in the locker room after the old man almost drowned. I kind of wanted a little bit more of a build up, and I think it ties into the whole hinting thing. I wanted him to be interrupted more, I think, in the first half to almost build up that point of the pipes bursting in that moment. Whether it be he's finding hints or whatever about his brother when so-and-so, and then she pops in, hey, you want a coffee? And I wanted to see him interrupt it a little bit more to kind of keep that pressure built and keep me at a state of dis-ease. But I love each, the characters all themselves, they were so colorful. And the sleepy town thing, I do really enjoy it. I do like this character, but I think again, it goes back to, I wanted to see him driving it a little bit more as well.
Very good, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Having listened to what they said, I will say this too. I love the slow burn of it. When he was still getting the looks a month later, I loved that because it made me look and think that the town is guilty. That's just where I went. And also when the parents, especially the mother, was so blasé about the loss of their son, I love what's already been said. There's so many ways to make this complex, but everything that you've written intrigued me. I think it's there, and then it just can be spun out as was said. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Very good.
So,
Yeah.
so the thing I was trying to articulate, and which you kind of did, I don't necessarily believe that they were blasé. I think they were in denial, and that's a really good way to get into, yes, you're the guardian, but they're coming back. And so that's a really good kind of, like, how do you argue with crazy? And so that could be fun. And then also, you set the scene up so well with them, and it's very different from like a Fargo. It seems like it's a town that has a robust, tourist trade and all of that, and just embracing that, like you have, but like just really kind of digging in, because that's a unique and different world that we haven't seen shows in, and there's so much TV out there, and so this just makes yours even more unique. So just leaning into it. Sorry.
Can we have a bit of comedy? Can we have one character who's unfiltered?
Well, I like the drunk Catherine. She's great.
Yeah, she wasn't drunk though. She will be. In Holly's world, she will be drunk. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just want to say that I thought you did like a really good job of setting mood and setting the town. I think TV is a lot about like mood. I mean, as well as plot, and so I think it shouldn't go unsaid that you did do a good job doing that. And I think I don't know if there's necessarily not enough going on as much as it is like there's a lot of little things going on, and you kind of maybe just have to choose what you think is the most interesting. Because I think it is something to think about, that there's like a missing people's case, and that's not at the forefront. Like I feel like the fact that you two are talking about the custody more almost feels like if it's going to be that, then maybe it shouldn't be missing people. Maybe they should be declared dead already. And it's
cruel man,
like
cruel heartless man.
Because if it's like a missing person thing, I almost feel like that's like so interesting that it has to be the main storyline.
That is interesting. We didn't really talk a lot about the missing.
You're not able to have as many of the other conversations, because something about someone being missing with no explanation, it's not definitive. So they're not declared dead yet. So you can have the parents in denial versus not. You can have the frustration of, like, I'm assuming that he's frustrated with this Burke person because there's no movement. And sometimes there isn't resolution, and how do you deal with something with no resolution? And I like that you are exploring that, because I haven't seen that much. So I responded to that, because that happens, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah. A couple more, then we'll get into the Q&A if anybody wants anything else. No? We're all good? Okay, very good. Anything you want to add? Ask?
No, this has been fantastic.
What did you get from it? That's my...
It's funny, the biggest thing was, oh my God, the scene descriptions. There's a lot of it.
It wasn't just the description of like the place, which is fine.
Right, no, but it's just,
it was...
and there were moments, like I know the script so well, and I'm like, oh God, Kim's gonna talk again in a second. So,
But I noticed it too. It was like Adam turns to do.
Yeah,
the
there's a
Adam.
lot.
It's like you were so
I really-
clamped onto Adam. It's like, for fuck's sake, let him just do
You
something.
did a great job.
Yes, you
Yeah.
did. Kim did
yeah,
a great
Kim,
job.
you were wonderful. Everybody was wonderful. It was
Yeah.
fantastic to hear. I really loved it.
So okay, so that was sorry, I stepped over you. Sorry.
No, that's it. And it's interesting to get the perspective of not a lot happening. I mean, I have the benefit of knowing what the second half is, so I can convince myself that stuff is happening. But it's nice to know, like, if this were the only part that people were exposed to, I can see where the flaws are.
Right.
So it's been very helpful.
Cool.
Really great. No,
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have you been having a good time?
Yeah, it's been great.
Very good. So what we traditionally do is ask how you got into how you found your way into the business.
Okay.
Role.
Okay. Okay.
We don't have to. If
No,
it's
no,
like
no.
It's just
It's all over the place.
Okay.
I got into the industry. I was 26. I had been in finance in New York. I hated it. And I had friends who were at NYU, and they kept asking me you're good with money, and I was like, yeah. So they asked me to budget like independent stuff or produce something. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I read a book, How to Budget. And I started doing that, and then I just I grew in that. So as they graduated, I went with them. So we had we had a feature one of the shorts, I went to Tribeca, and I did some docs, and was doing all of that. And then a friend of mine who was an agent at William Morris is like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I have no idea." And so he was like, "If you ever want to make money with it, you have to move to LA." So I was like, all right. And he was opening up a production company, and I could start as an assistant. So I was making $400 a week. I interviewed while I was staying at his house in the guest room. So it was like, am I going to get it? I was pretty sure I would.
It would have been awkward if you didn't.
It really would have. I was dating my best friend at the time, too. So it would have been super awkward. So I interviewed with one of his people, and the interview went like, "So can you read legal documents?" And I was like, "I can read." And he was like, "All right." That was easy. So I started working at Reveille with Ben Silverman, who was my friend's boyfriend, in 2002, and it was when the company opened. So there was 3 agents who had started the company. None of them had ever been on set. And then maybe 2 assistants and an office manager and myself. And so all of a sudden it became, oh, we need to look at this budget for something. And I was the only one who had ever seen a budget. So it's like, let me tell you how this works. Oh, we've got to go to set. We've got a problem. All right, I'll go. So it was like an assistant scheduling calls while also pretending to be the executive on set, which is how it works in LA. So we did scripted and unscripted, so I've been in both. And so just that was 15 years ago. And so have been been at studios, I was at Fremantle, I'm at an independent studio, a distribution production company. We do international co-productions now. I've been in 3 different networks. I was at TLC doing, I did American Chopper and TLC, no, not TLC, Trading Spaces and stuff like that. But then also I was the head of scripted programming at Pivot, which is Participant Media's network. So you just floated throughout, and if something was interesting, we would go there. I've been part of many regime changes, which meant half the team I was with was fired, and just figuring out how to, or laid off, how to navigate those. And it's been a long but interesting journey. So I oversee content right now for US, UK, Australia, and Canada, and I look at shows. I look at 1-hour dramas or half hours, typically dramedies, some comedy, but mainly like a drama with comedy, that I can either sell domestically as a straight sale, or I could sell it to like Australia first and then find a US home, or sell it to the UK, or sell it here for a smaller license fee and then sell it to one of those other places. So that's what I do.
Do you have, and does your company have like deals with anybody, or is it just every pitch is brand new? I mean, do you have first looks or any
With writers?
Yeah, or with networks, and I mean, do they? How does that work?
No, so.
Do you like once a month you call them up and say, I've got another one, can I come in, or do you?
Yeah. So you know, when you've been in the business for a long time, you grow up with people. So, you know, I was, and it's, you know, when people tell you to be nice to everyone, be nice to everyone. I was an assistant, you know, with the group of assistants that I was assistants with. One's now the head of Amazon, one's the head of Hulu. Others are, you know, just like, you just grow up together. And so you call them up and say, hey, can I bring something in? In terms of writers, you develop relationships. If they like you, you know, they come back to you. So I have a writer who, and so Kevin, you'll love it. He's always like giving me a script, asking me for notes, telling me that he's going to take a week hating everything that I said, and then he'll come back to me, and then we'll keep going. And so I go, okay. And so, you know, I'm always, you know, to me, you have to be honest, but also this is someone's work, and so you have to be really respectful of that, because even if you don't personally respond to it, doesn't mean someone else won't, and it also doesn't mean that, you know, you actually, I don't like everything on TV, other people do, so, you know,
Yeah.
just because it's not my taste doesn't mean that it's not good for other people.
So how does it work with your relationship with writers? If you, like, is there a, in terms of, I think we were talking about it outside, in terms of taking out pitches, like fully realized scripts versus someone comes into you with an idea versus, and then, you know, the whole, like, because we get told, people outside of the gates get told a lot of different information, like you've got to have a spec ready, or you've got to have this, or you've got to have thought through season 7 before anybody will take you seriously. You know, like where does it sit for you?
It's all over the place. So everyone is different. So here's the thing, like we were talking, and there's someone who wants to, like, I'm working with a young writer who has sold a lot of comedies, and we have a pitch that is more of a drama. And so when I'm going to the networks, and I'm like, I've got this young writer, she's great. You know, on this particular pitch that we just actually sold, we put a higher level showrunner. And so she had spec'd out what she thought the show would be. And it was a very good sample for a 1-hour drama that she had not written any others. And it was like, oh, I like this, but it needs a lot of work. And so we pulled together, we brought in a showrunner, someone that I had a relationship with, and had them meet. We actually like had her try out a few different people, and then the same with them. We sent basically her script to them and said, we think we want to take this out as a pitch, but here's an idea of her writing, and this is basically the gist of it, but this is how kind of we want to change it. And so she had a few dates with a few different writers, whoever like they got along with the best and had the most ideas of like, okay, I like this, I don't like that, whatever. We redeveloped the pitch, we took it out, and we sold it as a pitch. The network that we actually sold it to asked, well, has she written anything in the drama space? And we said, well, she has a spec for what we're pitching you, but it's very different. We don't want to do that. So if you do it, realize that's not it. They read the spec, was like, oh, she can really write. This is different of what you're pitching, so they bought it.
Wow.
Other ones, like, you know, I have another one right now, which came in as a script also, that we're attaching a larger showrunner to. It's a Battlestar Galactica meets like The Martian. So we got David Icke to showrun it. And so he did notes on the script, and we changed based off of those. We gave notes on the script, and then we're taking it out, we attach to director, and we're taking it out, we send the script out as this is the script, we have a full fucking Bible. It's basically the first season, and then we're like, and then like eventually in season 10, this is how it'll end, but like don't really like get into how it is, but it's like,
Right.
and this is the button at the end.
It was all a dream. Yeah.
But you don't want your audience to hate you. So, you know, for us, we put together some marketing materials. We actually, because it is a sci-fi thing, we went and paid people to do some original artwork. We have a reel, like mood reel.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how we're taking it out. Is that helpful?
Yeah. But I have two questions. How do you, because what I'm thinking is how you find these scripts, how you decide which one you're picking, especially if it's a writer that doesn't have much of a track record. If you actually find a writer with not much of a track record.
Right.
And then how you make those decisions on, well, you know, we're going to go out with, like, we're going to go the full 9 yards with this one, we're going to shoot, you know, get the artwork and all that, versus we think this pitch is strong. Like, how do you make those decisions?
Okay.
And, okay, we'll answer that and then I'll say.
So for the writers, one of them, the two younger writers that came to me with the sci-fi one, they came to me through a producer I've worked with in the past. And he's a UK producer. I had bought something from him. He had been working with Tim Kring, actually. And I bought that show when I was at the network prior. And we had developed that. And so I liked his taste, and he asked me to read the script, and I really liked it. And so then we went out and attached the showrunner together. We decided to do that one because it's a big sci-fi. The aliens are not humanoid. Like, it's like people just have a really hard time conceptualizing, and it's really big. Like, it's, if you're asking people to spend that much money, you're like, and this is kind of what it's gonna look like. So that marketing brochure, like, we spent probably about 20 grand putting that together. For the other, it's, you know, the logline's pretty easy. It's like a kind of new take on Alias, but procedural. You get it. Like, I don't need to do any artwork for that.
Right.
And so, you know, for discovering writers, you know, it's through recommendations, word of mouth. Sometimes it's friends. The NBC one that I sold, it's literally this girl I met at the Soho House when we joined at the same time. And we became friends, and then she told me she was a writer, and I was like, fuck. So I was like, oh, I'd love to read something. And then I did, and it was good, and I was like, oh, we can still be friends. So then, you know, so that was just random, but she had been working like when she was like, oh, I'm a writer, but she had sold some stuff to NBC, she was represented, she has an agent and a manager, and I was like, oh, you're actually a real writer.
Right.
You're all real writers.
Yes. You're a
but it
representative.
was, you know, yeah, it just was random. Others, it's, you know, you have agent friends who send you, like, I just found this person, or like I'm going out with something right now, which is the life rights to this guy were just insane, like fucking crazy. And so then we secured those life rights, and now we're finding a writer for it. So we've then gone to the agents and managers that I know and said, like, hey, listen to this crazy shit. And they're like, what? And we're like, and it's real. What? And so then we put together like a document that was like, this is his life. Like, and so we sent that out to writers, and then they're coming back going, hey, like, this is how I would tackle that. And
so it's unlikely you'll be at a cocktail party and one of us comes up and says, hey, I got to go out here for a show, that will go anywhere. You would
probably.
Right.
Yeah.
We could all cry our way home.
You never know.
Oh, yeah. How many do you decide, like, how many pitches do you see, hear, read before you pick one that you go with, that you like? What do you think the ratio is?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, do you see a lot?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot.
Is there anything you look for in a script? Let's say it's let's go with a fully fledged script, because most of us have written scripts. Is there something you look for in a script that's like catches you in terms of showing off the ability of the writer?
It's hard to describe. Definitely your emotional connection, what you had said earlier. You know, if you look at it, like every script is different in tone. So like owning that and originality and something that I haven't seen before. If you're going for, like, one of the things that we say, because we deal with international a lot, is, you know, a world that you've never seen before, but with dramatic elements that are universal. And so what is that I can relate to, that you can relate to, that other people can relate to, that, you know, is set in a world and in a place that I've never seen. So I'm getting this kind of peek into something, but I'm also emotionally invested in some way.
Right. Okay. And then one more. I have one more, and then we'll throw it over for a couple of questions before we go home. How do you deal with a writer who comes in with a precious script? You say, we like this, it's great. Here's a showrunner that's going to, that's more experienced than you in order to realize this more fully. Do you get pushback from writers? And are there any advice on anybody? Do you just say, just shut up and take it, it's in your best interests? Or what do you?
It's really interesting because there are, like, with everyone, you get different personalities. So there have definitively been issues with a more junior writer who's really married to what it is. And the best way to deal with it is, first acknowledging that, like, this is their idea and this is their baby. This is something that they've been working on for a really long time, and respecting that, because, it's a big deal. Hopefully you bring in, you also, it's a little bit of that blind date thing of introducing them to a few different people who, see what chemistry is there, because, if they start speaking the same language and start riffing off of one another and it develops into kind of where you've been trying to push them, that's great. Some, if they're fighting so hard, but you're like, okay, this is kind of where we see it, putting together that action plan first and making sure that you're all on the same page. And then if you're still moving forward and you're still just getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, sometimes, you have to abandon it.
We had our last insider was Mickey Fisher, who wrote Extant and now Reverie.
Awesome.
And he talked about getting paired up with showrunners, and he was just incredibly happy to be there, and whenever he got it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that, but there's also the people who are not as excited because, especially like when you're so new and young in the business and you're just like, oh my God, I'm amazing. And a lot of times, the showrunner aspect is they've gone through, like they've tried so many things, and the idea and the thing that's so unique, keeping that there, but also trying to look at some of the drama tropes. We had a show that's, I think it's on Amazon now, it's an Icelandic show, and we had, it was pitched around everywhere. There was a script by a young writer and an Icelandic young writer in Icelandic, and it was pitched, and we sold it to Germany and the Scandies and the UK. It's a BBC, ZDF co-production, and they had read the original and they're like, but there was something there, and so we were like, there's something really interesting here, and we asked the networks if we brought it back to them if they'd be open to it. And so we found a UK writer, we had a French story editor, and one of the people of my company was in the writer's room, and it's a German. And we rebroke the pilot and the entire season. And there was a few things that were pushed back. But some of those pushbacks add a lot of good local flavor, but some of them were just also not good. So one of the pushbacks was this guy, he's having a shit day. He's a sheriff in town, dead body, blizzard, cruise ship is there, maybe a serial killer running around town. It's not a good day. And then his ex-wife is coming to town with her new, hotter, younger boyfriend and wants to take the kids away. So that sucks. And she's caught in the blizzard that's like, basically they're gonna be trapped in the town. It's the show Trapped. And the Icelandic dramatic version was, for the entire 10 episodes, they were stuck in the blizzard. And we're like, ooh. Wow, that's super dramatic. What happens if she gets to town? And so she got to town at the end of the first episode. It's great. And so then like more drama ensues.
Right.
But like other things worked really well. So you just, you try to find ways to talk it through.
Right. Last quick one. How is the market? People buying? There are lots of people. This is a good time to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what they said last night on the Emmys, there are 450 scripted shows on TV.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of shrinkage. There's a lot of consolidation in the market. Like I don't think that there's going to be that many shows, but it's still a really great time.
All right, so we should be writing TV shows. Anyone have any questions for Holly, apart from pictures? Up at the back there.
I have a question about networking. I guess, I'm learning more and more how important that is. And even in your story, it was all like, a lot of it was people you...
All people you know.
Yeah, and so...
Now we all know Holly, so we can all picture
I'll go join some of But, so the networking, like formal events that you can sort of find for us tend to be for other aspiring writers, which is great, and if nothing else, I've gotten better at like doing it and people, but I guess I'm wondering if you have any ideas or points in the right direction of places to meet people more actually potentially in the position to hire us one day.
A lot of it does take time. So some of those where it's other writers because they'll get a job and then they can bring people in the room and things like that, or they sell something and then you collaborate on something, so there's that, or they get their agent to read your script. So it's also creating actual real relationships. I'll give another place to do it is the JHRTS stuff. It's typically for people who are in the business, like assistants or people like that, but that's really useful. Women in Film and a few others, like they'll do mentorships and they'll have events that are helpful in that sense. So look up mentors, mentees, the JHRTS stuff. They'll also do kind of stuff like this with big showrunners that are talking and giving notes on their own scripts and things like that. And so it's set up for people kind of getting into the business, which is really useful. But
just be pleasant to everyone.
Yeah, well, also like know when to do it and know when not to. I had a kid recently, and at my baby shower, one of my college friends was like, "Oh, hey, you're in reality? Let me tell you about this script." And I was like, "What are you doing?" So like, don't do that.
Yes, don't do that. Anyone have any more questions? No. All right. Then we will go. Oh, it's 9:45. Before we clap, because once we clap, you go home. Our next reading is October the 30th. It's the day before Halloween, so I'm being told to encourage people to wear costumes. Our insider is going to be Pete Goldfinger, who is he is also a writing teacher, but he's also the writer of the new Saw movie called Jigsaw, which comes out on the 27th. You can still submit scripts that are not horror related, but if you want to submit that horror script you've been lurking in the background, this is your opportunity for us. So that's October 30th. We hope you can all come. Thank you so much. More importantly, thank you, Holly, for coming. And now you can go home. We'll see you in October. Thank you.